welcome for everybody here. Welcome for all over the world. I have so much to share with you, and like Stephen said, for 40 years I've been in this field of amazing people that have taught me how to heal myself and then to help people heal themselves. The first thing we all have to do is to heal ourselves. If you want to be a teacher, I don't think you can help somebody unless you heal yourself. And you see, Ann Wigmore, who founded the Institute more than 60 years ago, healed her stage 4 colon cancer, founded the Institute, and it's been history ever since. People all over the world have done similar things. And like yesterday, the speaker said, you know, this is not being brave. This is being truthful. And because when you really are truthful and you live it, it's not being brave anymore. And people say about us at the Institute all the time, boy, you are so brave having an institute. How come you're still open? Because a lot of institutes are not still in America. And it's not brave. It is believing so much, having so much passion in what you do, that it will sustain, it will stay. There is no way that this can be killed in any which way. And that's a big part of the passion and the everyday life that we have in working with people from all over the world. And, of course, I started out in Sweden. And I'm going to show you a picture here of Alma Nissen. A long story short, this is Alma and I was 18 years old. I started to work for her at the clinic, and I ran it. After a year, I ran it for her. She was in her 80s. And at 50 years old, she was so crippled with rheumatoid arthritis that her whole body had stiffened. You know, it's totally different than osteoporosis in a way because it fuses your vertebra, it fuses your joints, so you cannot move. And she wakes up one morning, she had this for many, many years, lived on medication, never knew about diet. And she wakes up one morning and her whole body fused and her jaw fused. So here, normally she would just pick up pills and get the day going. And this day she couldn't do that anymore. And she was lucky. She lived in Copenhagen, Denmark, where she was from. Or she was from Vejle, Denmark. But she lived in Copenhagen. And she was lucky that a young couple in the same building had just become vegetarian. So they heard about Alma, and they looked up in books that they had, like most of us. Don't we buy every book under the sun? We have libraries about health. And we're looking and searching and searching. Well, they did, and they looked up, what can we do for rheumatoid arthritis? And it said, make juice. Get her on a vegan diet. So they did. And she could actually sip juice through her teeth, thank God. So there was one thing she could do. And she, of course, the coffee was gone and everything she lived on. And she opened up her jaw slowly but surely. Her whole body opened up. And she opened a clinic in Sweden, where she was begged to do that. And so, you know, it was an amazing journey to be with her. She lived, so she was so crippled at 50, she lived to 96. Yeah, and amazing. And, of course, helped many people. And she taught me so much about healing and health. And then what happened, here came Ann Wigmore. And she came to Sweden in 76 the first time to lecture in Stockholm. And boy, I just could not have enough about the 2-hour lecture. I saw her after the lecture, and she says, I'm going to come and see your clinic tomorrow. She had one day in Sweden extra. She came, and she visited with me in Alma. And we really hooked up, and I knew one day I will definitely go and work with her too. And then 78, Brian came with Ann Wigmore to open a vegan restaurant in Stockholm that still exists. And Brian told me after the lecture, I never saw the guy before, but he told me, but he had an amazing lecture. And he saw me afterwards, and he said, you know, one day you're going to marry somebody like me. And little did I know, I came over in the early 80s to join the staff, and that's when it clicked. And it's been an amazing journey in our life with our kids, and with the Institute's growth and the growth of living food movement and raw food and organic foods all over the world. It's just grown as we've grown. So we kind of have grown up in this movement, all of us together. It's just amazing. Now, we believe that the younger generation will pick up. And I can see that all over the world. There are raw food restaurants, there are raw food juice bars. You know, there's things coming up everywhere, all over the world. Wherever we travel, we can live this way. And a lot of people ask us that question. When you travel, how do you do it? You go off the program? No, there's no such thing. So we do the best when we travel, and we will always find people who knows how to do this. You know, your grandparents knew so much more than we know today. They, and every culture, every country has their own people that have followed traditions. And we have the Native Americans in America. We use a lot of their medicines, which is natural, and we use them for cancer, and we have amazing success with their stuff. We use, of course, Chinese medicine, which is thousands and thousands of years knowledge. So we bring in any knowledge that we can, because it is really a mix of so much. We use a lot of electromagnetic treatments that have amazing results. So let's go through this journey. Well, first we talk about pharmaceutical drugs originals. Well, they really originate from plants and rocks. The thing is, if you talk to any pharmacist, especially somebody who's been learning it from many years ago, they say, yeah, all I studied was herbs and plants, because every medicine comes from a plant. For example, aspirin comes from white willow. So we take white willow. So when somebody's in pain at the Institute, or they have a fever that is not too high, we use white willow. And it's a natural plant, and it really works. So it's in pills or in liquid, and we have great results with that. A lot of statin drugs are out there and causing loads of problems, when there are natural ways to help yourself with that. So a healthy approach is to look to the plants and natural compounds for wellness, and when possibly avoid man-made concoctions, really. So here we come to allopathic medicine and pharmaceutics, because there is no medicine without side effects. We have to constantly tell us this. A lot of times we want the shortcut with allopathic medicine that is synthetic. When you take a plant into a laboratory and you look at the molecular structure and you make exactly the same, but it's made synthetically, it will not have the same effect. And it might look like it's good, but there is a side effect always from every medication. Let's look at osteoporosis. You have three stages here. You have the mild stage, and you know that's when you demineralize your bones. And the moderate stage, you see more. And the severe stage, where actually if you took an X-ray of your spine at that time, you can actually see right through your spine. Can you imagine? You can see right through. So this is something that normally, you know, we got as we were older, and now we see it in much younger. So most of the time, people realize they have osteoporosis when they go to their chiropractor and they have a spinal X-ray. And you know, we actually use ourselves at the Institute of a chiropractor that uses a therapy called NUCA, which is a low-impact chiropractic, but actually can really, really help with the structure problem. So you can look into NUCCA, wherever you are, there are therapists doing that. Of course, how do we reverse this? How can we reverse osteoporosis? Osteopenia, which is the first step of osteoporosis. We need resistant training. So we haven't exercised enough. It is an acidic diet, but it's minor compared to resistant training. So start with getting a trainer that can train you like 3 times a week and knows how to get your body in order again. And it should be fun, you know. If we exercise without having fun, we're probably not going to do it too long. So having a trainer that makes it upbeat really helps in the beginning. But we see amazing results. We had the best story. We had a lady come from Boston. She was 97 years old, heavy-duty osteoporosis and cancer, and very weak, and about 80 pounds. And she stayed 7 weeks. She had resistant training with our trainer every day. And in 7 weeks, she was swimming in our pool. The cancer that was bleeding in the legs were gone. And she told us she was ready for the next job. So, you know, it's when you see this, you realize you don't take no for an answer. So if osteoporosis is in your family and you think, well, that's my mom started at 70, or, you know, that's what's going to happen to me, you better start eating well, remineralize your body, because that's a big part of it too. And, you know, your bones start to demineralize much sooner now, and bones constantly breaking down and reforming and reabsorbing and depositing calcium. So as we get older, the problem is if we don't exercise, that the breakdown exceeds bone formation. So we want mineral-rich foods. Stop with the soft drinks, coffee, all the sugars, aspartame, all the funny sugars, the sweet and low, and all the aspartame products. I hope you don't touch any of those. Chocolate, here comes chocolate, high-fat diets, of course, honey, any form of the sugars. Fruit has its place, and we have, through all the years, realized that in the beginning of getting rid of a problem, let's say I come in with cancer, or I have arthritis, or I have lupus, or HIV, you name it, Hep C, we're not going to eat fruit, because sugar in any form is feeding a virus cancer. So we're abstaining from fruit for at least 2 years. And I know everybody wants to get their fruit back. And then when you choose them again, you choose the low glycemic. So you choose the pears, the apples, the kiwi, the berries. And, you know, as time goes by, you can get on to others. And what happens to a lot of people is that we stay very strict. I say that there is a time limit that most people can do, and that's 3 months. And the temptation comes around 3 months. So most people can really stay strict for 3 months, eating well, making juices. But then suddenly after 3 months, we feel like we've been so good to ourselves, we've been doing it perfect, and we don't have to do it anymore. Well, guess what happens? Our problems come back with vengeance. So you don't have to go that route like so many people have. So many people have tried that. And, of course, more than 80% of our guests comes back to the Institute and recover again. But the road is tougher each time. So in my own life, I suffered from chronic migraines. Actually, when I ran the clinic in Sweden, I ate so much fruit. We didn't know that fruit was so bad. And I studied pre-medical at college because I didn't want to miss college. I worked all day and I studied at night. Well, how do you keep yourself awake? Well, I didn't have coffee, so I ate all kinds of dried fruit to keep myself awake so I could do the physics and the chemistry and the math. And I got chronic migraines. And I had chronic migraines for 3 years, every day, every day. What a waste of time. Well, then, literally, then I got on raw food, and I realized that sugar was a big deal. Because, yes, if I looked at my diet, and mainly my diet was fruit, you would think I would figure out that I have to make a change. So I did, and that was the end of that. But I am still the one that could get a migraine if I screw up. So that is my weakness for life. And if I've had cancer, and a lot of people, you know, we get into this false peace when we're told that we are cancer-free. We have an X-ray, we have blood tests, and we're told you're in remission, you're fine. And then we think, okay, life can be totally normal now. I don't have to be committed to lifestyle and exercise. I can just go back to my old habits. Well, you know, cancer comes back because that is a cellular memory. And so to live without disease is to be committed to a lifestyle. So it's not a diet. It really is a lifestyle. And, you know, it's wonderful once you realize that we have that option. And, you know, I get questions all the time. You know, for 40 years, I sit with people that wants to change lifestyle, that has a lot of fear, because that's the biggest thing that comes with a diagnosis. When we sit there with the diagnosis of any form, it's fear, because if we don't get to hear at the same time a solution that will heal us, we're kind of out on a limb, out there by ourselves. So when you come to people that have worked in this field for so many years and that sees it every day, that it works, that we can go to a different place, our immune system can build up to a totally different place. I think that takes so much stress and fear away that your body can heal, because that is a big blockage for most people. So going back to osteoporosis, you know, we've been told that there was calcium deficiency, and that was just not right. And U.S. government actually came out with an alert not long ago, and they said, please don't take that extra calcium because it could actually lead to strokes, and it has increased strokes. Well, and remember when coral calcium came out and people went nuts about it? You cannot digest a stone. It takes a plant to digest the calcium from rocks, right? So please look at when you ever buy supplements that they come from plants. And magnesium and silica has been amazing. Vitamin D, of course, but please don't support the krill oil movement out there, or fish oil movement with vitamin D. So get vitamin D from natural sources too. But none of that, none of the supplements and the food will work for osteopenia and osteoporosis without resistant training, without resistant exercise. So that's the first thing you need to get onto. So it's skyrocketing throughout the female population. And that was that. Now,
I told the witch doctor I was in love with you. I told the witch doctor I was in love with you. And then the witch doctor, he told me what to do.
This is about osteoporosis medication.
It's Boniva.
Oh, let me see that.
You should not take Boniva if you have low blood calcium, severe kidney disease, or cannot sit or stand for at least 60 minutes. Follow dosing instructions carefully. Stop taking Boniva and tell your doctor if you experience difficult or painful swallowing, chest pain, or severe or continuing heartburn, as these may be signs of serious upper digestive problems.
Oh, wow, that's great.
It's Boniva.
It may cause you to fall asleep.
That's great.
Or feel very sleepy during normal activities.
I don't
such
think
as
they
drawing,
hear anything.
Or to faint or feel dizzy when you stand up. Tell your doctor if you experience new or increased gambling, sexual, or other intense urges while taking Requip. Tell your doctor if you experience new or increased gambling, sexual, or other intense urges while taking Requip.
It sounds like a joke, right? But in a Mayo Clinic study, this class of drugs was linked to compulsive gambling with very high losses. In fact, 2 people who had no prior history of gambling problems lost more than $100,000 each. And who knows what problems might arise from increased sexual urges. But wait, there's more.
Side effects may include nausea, drowsiness, vomiting, and dizziness.
Effects may include nosebleed or nasal sores, nasal fungal infection, glaucoma, or cataracts may occur.
Ask your doctor.
In the dark due to the risk of specific birth defect. Tell your doctor if you have liver disease. Rarely, sexual side effects, tenderness, or swelling of breast can occur. Call your doctor to feel better.
Prescription Mirapex may cause you to feel drowsy or fall asleep during normal activities such as driving, or to feel faint or dizzy when you stand up. Tell your doctor if you experience these problems. If you drink alcohol, are taking medicines that make you drowsy, or if you experience increased gambling, sexual, or other intense urges. Other side effects include nausea.
With any of these medicines, patients also taking aspirin and the elderly are at increased risk for stomach bleeding and ulcers. In clinical studies, a lower percentage of patients on Celebrex reported indigestion, abdominal pain, and nausea. Any prescription NSAID, including Celebrex, may increase the chance of heart attack or stroke, which can lead to death. Death, 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 death. All NSAIDs, including Celebrex, also increase the chance of serious skin reactions or stomach and intestine problems, such as bleeding and ulcers, which can occur without warning and may cause death. Death, 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 death. Oh, wow, that's great.
It's Boniva. Effects may include nausea, diarrhea, headache, and heart attack. Talk to your doctor today about Slumber Safe and wake up to your life.
All I can say is wow.
Wow.
Wow, indeed. Wow. Okay. So when we see these ads on TV, do we even hear what they're writing, or we just see the beautiful people having happy time? And it's really amazing. You know, a child would look at that and say, "Are you nuts? Why would I take these things?" But you know, we get anxious and we'll take any help we can, and that's what happens so many times. The Time analysis of 2009 death statistic, the most recent available, showed for the first time ever in the U.S., more people were killed by drugs than motor vehicle accidents. 37,485 people died from drugs, a rate fueled by overdosed doses on prescription pain and anxiety medications versus 36,284 from traffic accidents. Drug fatalities more than doubled among teens and young adults between 2000 and 2008, and more than tripled among people aged 50 to 69. There was an ad on TV this morning, and this mother lost her son, and she said the painkillers didn't kill the pain, it killed my son. And, you know, this happens.
For
now,
nearly 200 years, pharmaceutical
I'm going to
companies
show
have been
you
searching for a non-addictive
the history of the
painkiller
most
derived from the opium
addictive
poppy.
pharmaceutical
With the rise
drugs
of opium
ever
use at the
made
turn of the
in
19th
U.S.
century, a German pharmacist extracted morphine from opium as a non-addictive analgesic and cure for opium abuse. But when morphine was also found to be extremely addictive in the mid-1800s, Bayer, in their quest to develop a less addictive alternative to morphine, created heroin. What they didn't realize was that heroin was much more potent and addictive than morphine. When heroin was pulled from the market in the early 1900s, a group of German scientists developed oxycodone, a semi-synthetic opioid derived from a poppy plant that they hoped would be less addictive and would form the basis of many painkillers. For years, pharmaceutical companies developed drugs such as Percodan and Percocet then mixed a smaller dosage of oxycodone with larger doses of milder painkillers like aspirin or acetaminophen. But in 1996, Purdue Pharma released Oxycontin. Although this drug contained a much higher concentration of oxycodone than previous painkillers, the FDA approved it because the pill was designed to slowly release the drug over an extended period of time. Unfortunately, users soon found a way to break the slow release feature by crushing the pill and snorting or injecting it to obtain a high. By 2010, Oxycontin was the second most abused prescription drug in the nation, causing Purdue Pharma to reformulate Oxycontin to make it crush and injection resistant. While this new version has caused deliberate misuse of Oxycontin to decrease, many believe that former Oxycontin abusers have abandoned the pill for a cheaper, easier fix from heroin. Despite the attempts to make Oxycontin safer, it remains a potentially addictive drug, even for people who are using it legitimately. Why is this? Oxycontin numbs pain by mimicking your body's natural endorphins. The longer you take opioids, the less endorphins your body produces naturally. This is why you feel so depressed when you quit using. You end up needing more pills just to feel normal. Although Oxycontin creates a feeling of drowsiness, relief from pain, relaxation, sedation, lowered inhibitions, and euphoria, users may experience negative side effects. You don't have to purposely abuse Oxycontin to be affected by it. Maybe you've been really careful with your prescribed dosage, but you, or your family and friends, have noticed that you've been acting really different lately. It's not like you're going far beyond your dosage. The moodiness, fatigue, and anxiety may point to opioid dependence, and opioid dependence includes the risk of overdose. Because you get such a high concentration of opioids, it's much easier to overdose on Oxycontin than other painkillers. When you overdose, Oxycontin slows down your central nervous system, forcing your heart rate and breathing to slow, which can induce a state of coma or death. And if you mix alcohol with Oxycontin, you increase the risk of overdose exponentially.
And so many of our guests are on these opiates. And, one of the first things that I hear from those guests is, I want to get off. I can't take it. I can't take how I feel on them, what it's doing to my body. And it's really being on a living food diet, getting the support emotionally. Like we have 2 psychologists that work with every person. If you're outside of the institute, of course, try to get a lot of emotional support, diet support, juicing, supplementation. We use GABA. We use tryptophan and, of course, any blue-green algae and green algae that can support you. It has been of great support. Well, as U.S. is the most addictive in the world, there is a documentary film that's called The American Addict. Did anybody see that? The American Addict. You should look up that. It's amazing. And what it shows is that the war on terrorism and the policing of our border has slowed the rate of drugs, illegal drugs coming in. So now we go to our doctor and we get it. So we get our fix from our doctor. So look at this. The U.S. comprises 5% of the world population. The U.S. consumed 50% of prescription drugs. The U.S. consumes 80% of narcotics. But there is hope. There is a lot of hope. Well, today's knowledge of traditional medicine and healthcare is at its highest point ever. We need to merge historic knowledge with transparent modern science. Well, what we need to get out of is this consumer mentality, because we have been prepped by corporations and by governmental interests that we should consume 7 days a week. And boy, we've been following that. We've been doing a good job at that. So we've been trained, and this has abolished our desire to participate in our own health, maintenance, and recovery process, leaving us vulnerable. So we get into self-care. And globally, people are awakening to the stark reality that corporate control and their profit-mongering must be stopped. And this has sparked the ever-growing self-care movement, which we really have worked on at the Institute and are really for this last 60 years. the Institute has been a living laboratory where we've been following people, and the 21 days that most people stay with us, of course, is not a long time, but like you hear here, a lot of testimonials of how amazing lifestyle change works. Here is a couple that came to us and who could not get pregnant. So these are stories untold we want to tell you. And they were crying. They were so out of it because they've been told there is no way that they were going to get pregnant. And they've tried every which way. And they went through the program together. He lost 20 pounds, and his cholesterol came down. They were both in such great shape by the time they left. And they live in Florida, and we go down to an organic farm in Fort Lauderdale where we shop. So we drop every Sunday. It's amazing, amazing organic fresh vegetables. And about a few months later, they were there, and she was pregnant. It was just so here's her beautiful baby. And, you know, women who smoke are about 75% less likely. Not that Ileana, not that she smoked, but smoking's got to go. That makes it so much harder to get pregnant. And the problem is if your mother smoked, like my mother smoked, she was a chimney. I thought life was a balm. When you sat in the living room, it was a balm. Well, their daughters can have fertility problems. So avoid soy products. And, you know, a lot of times when you get into this field and you start looking, okay, I'm going to eat vegan. Well, what is the replacement of meat? Well, it looks like it's soy. Please don't eat a lot of soy. Soy is not really on our diet, but it actually, the problem with it is so estrogen rich, and it can interfere with your body's ability to make estrogen and progesterone. So working with fertility, get as much raw food as you can, and take supplementations like prenatal, where you get lots of your iron, your Bs, and you get your folate, folic acid, and you eat really well and you drink well, you're not going to have problems. Like so many people have come to us who have got pregnant after a visit. Here is Tommy, and some of you probably saw Tommy. He was here. He lives in New York. He was here. Well, Tommy had cancer, and, you know, he went to Sloan Kettering, and he was told he had cancer, and he had colitis for a long time. Well, he's telling us yesterday, and he's been knowing this for a long time, but he keeps getting tested, and he's totally cancer-free, and the colitis is totally gone. And he is an amazing father. As soon as his wife realized he had cancer, she left him. And he's been bringing up his child, and he's an amazing guy, really healthy. I wish you all saw him yesterday. And here is Heather Mills. And, you know, she is the girl that married and divorced Paul McCartney. Well, long before she met Paul McCartney, she had an accident. She was stepping out, crossing a street in London, and you know how you wait for cars to go, and there was a big bus coming, and big bus passed, and there were nothing. She was ready to go, stuck her leg out, and a motorcycle cop came from nowhere and cut her leg right under the knee. So here she is in coma and in heavy-duty antibiotic, and the tissue where the leg had been cut off was not healing. It's just one infection after the other. So they cut, many times they cut the tissue, and it was a big danger for her life, as this could go definitely systemic. So she was lucky as she came to it after coma. A friend of hers who has healed herself from cancer went to her bedside and said, I got to take you to Hippocrates. So they came all the way from England to United States to Florida, little Hippocrates Institute. And in 4 days, her infection was gone. And she wrote a book while she was married to Paul McCartney called A Single Step. And chapter 20 is about her visit. And, she just writes how amazing she felt when the infection, when the infection is gone. You just know it. And she went downtown to West Palm, find a guy who makes prostheses. And a few weeks later, she had that prosthesis and jeans on, and she's been going ever since. And, she's a very good person. Problem is with media, they like stories that, are not true, but that sells papers. So they wrote a lot of bad things about her. But she's done a lot of good things with the divorce money, and she's helping people. She's helping people, and I think, as far as I know, she's opened a vegan restaurant outside London somewhere. So she's really amazing for us. And okay, let's talk about breast cancer. Now, this is where we look at the developed world and the developing world. And by 1980, we were far ahead in the developed world. You can see we were double, okay? We were doubled, and in 2010, we were just about equal. So they caught up with us because they started to live on our lifestyle. They wanted to eat and drink like we do. And what a sad thing this is. Lots and lots of women come, of course, with breast cancer to the Institute. Now, there is a lot of men that comes with breast cancer to the Institute. We have men right now at the Institute that has been diagnosed with breast cancer and that spread to the bone. It's just amazing that we don't realize, and all the things that's been talked about here these 3 days with the hormones, the antibiotics, the steroids that's been put into our milk and our meat. It's just been amazing that it's been allowed, because we are all in danger of this cancer that's growing amazing. The thing is, if you see that the developing world is catching up with us, what do they have? How are they going to heal that? Do they have people that have institutes that can come and teach them, or is it purely going to be allopathic medicine? This does not exclude allopathic intervention, of course, and a lot of people choose to do both. But without a lifestyle, without nourishing foods, without juices and exercise, and mental clarity about what we're doing, we're just heading nowhere. That is where I hope that in future allopathic medicine will work hand in hand with holistic medicine, the way it's supposed to be. So 90% of the tumors of the breast cancer are insulin receptors positive, okay? So the amount of sugar that we eat are directly related to the development and progression of breast tissue. So then, and cancer, cigarette smoking, of course, and stress, no nutrition or poor nutrition. And they even found a lot of women work graveyard shifts. You work the night shifts. That really messes with your hormones. Of course, breast cancer is usually very hormonally induced. Foods, big time, but also not sleeping, because your hormones are not going to be in good order when you're not sleeping. So as breast cancer incidence rises and uninformed Hollywood stars scare people into taking extreme and unnecessary measures, it's more important than ever for women to take responsibility for their own health. Yeah, it's really sad for us when people take healthy organs out of their body to not get a problem that they think is genetic, when less than 5% of cancers are genetically done. Environmentally, about 80% is caused environmentally. So here is Aya. Aya came from Switzerland, and she was very, very scared about her diagnosis. And she's a yoga teacher. She is much more inclined to do a natural health program than an allopathic program. So she came to us, and she came 2-3 times. And she's in amazing health now. She's, after 3 years after doctors found the cancer, she maintains and improves her health through lifestyle changes. And she's brought her mother with osteoporosis and who's doing amazing on the diet. So she's bringing it to her family this way. And she calls cancer a gift. And that's what a lot of people do. And once we're done, like when I had my migraines and I was done with that, I definitely call it a gift too, because it got me on the straight and narrow. And if that's what it takes, most of us don't change until we just about hit the wall. Ovarian cancer, that is now an increase in much younger population. We used to get it after 40. And now we see it in 20, 25-year-olds. Dairy products is huge in this. Dairy products have shown to increase ovarian cancer with 44%. Of course, it's hormonally derived, big time. But what do we get from dairy products? So let's stop with all the dairy products. And like Brian would say, would you really milk a cow? If you had to drink it, would you really do it? Get under that little mom cow and drink in front of the baby cow. So, all the animal products, really what we say over and over is all the meats, anything that comes from an animal, the flesh and the milk, stay out of it. It is not meant for human consumption. We have uterine cancer, and that is, of course, very similar, but a lot of women, after having breast cancer, get that from taking tamoxifen. That tamoxifen is an estrogen suppressor that you put on right after, and the side effect of that is very much uterine cancer. Of course, alcohol is highway, and taking estrogen replacements. Obesity has been a factor in it too. So let's get on a good diet. If you are taking hormone replacement, maybe if you're taking allopathic estrogen and progesterone replacement therapy, maybe you go over to a bioidentical and then get out of it if your symptoms are so severe. On a diet where you have, or a lifestyle where you have good diet, good nutrition, and you have exercise in your program, most women are able to decrease their hormones pretty fast. And most women that had hot flashes before they come to the Institute are surprised. I don't have hot flashes. I am 10 years done with menopause myself, and menopause is a wonderful time. It is not a time that we are sick, but we can very much blame the menopause for a lot of things, because we had kind of 50 years to screw up. So now arthritis, osteoporosis, liver problem, kidney problem, heart problem, they all show up. So then we say, it's menopause. So let's just take hormones and that's going to fix it all. What a fool's game that is. So let's prevent these problems. But if I have them, we see them at the Institute, it's really amazing. Your body is so tolerant and it's so eager to get back in shape. So, hormones in any form, from food and from pills, can be a problem. Endometriosis, Here we find that we store PCBs, paraben, dioxins, and of course estrogen, a big part of this too, and your diet. But all these heavy plastic PCBs that we can store is a big problem. So we need to clean. So how do we clean these things? Well, I can tell you about diet and lifestyle, but for example, we do a douche with a syringe. In the beginning, maybe for 3 months, every other day, we take a syringe. And we love wheatgrass. Who doesn't love wheatgrass, right? Wheatgrass juice is a complete food. And there's many places we can use it. We don't only drink it. You get to the Institute, you might be shocked of how many places we can use it for. And, so we can actually do a vaginal douche with wheatgrass, but we mix half wheatgrass, half water. So if you have any of vaginal syringe, you do half wheatgrass, half water, and you take it once a day, every other day, as long as you need it. A lot of women have come with dysbiosis, which is cell changes that could go into cancer cell, and a lot of them have got rid of it in a few months with the diet lifestyle, get off the sugars, and get off of anything that brings your estrogen higher, which is the dairy, the meats, and replacements. So it's amazing how willing your body is to change. So here comes thyroid cancer. And thyroid, when I started 40 years ago, if I met one person a year that had thyroid cancer, that was so rare. Well, now since we're in the time of computers and cell phones, we hang on to that cell phone. The most sensitive organ in your body for radiation is the thyroid. Thyroid sits right here. It looks like a butterfly here. And, it's amazing how many people have problem with that. And we probably will see a huge increase of that in the younger generation that has been walking around with phones since they were, 2 years old? And they've been playing with it. Yeah, I know. It's kind of the babysitter in a lot of homes now. And we have 4 kids, and I know it's the 3 older ones did not need to have computers until they started college. And our younger one had to start with computers in elementary school. And so the need for computers and sitting in front of them has really increased. And now we have eye problems that kids have. It's coming straight from the computers, staring at the computers. We do eye exercise, and that is something you need to do every day. And you should have this practice. If your job is to sit in front of computers, please start doing eye exercise. Dr. Bates have amazing books about this. But you can just sit and do your own, where you look up and down, and you repeat it many times. Take a little bit of break, do it again. And then that is an up and down one. The next one is from side to side. And it's a great research about the one that goes from side to side, because, hey, you activate your left and right brain half. So if you want to remember anything you read, that is so much better for you. And then you do diagonal up, right, down, left, and up, left, down, right. And then the most important, because if you sit staring, reading a lot on computer, you need to contract and expand your eyes, because they're just sitting staring. And it's very simple. You put your index finger up in eye height as close as you can before it gets blurry, and then you find a spot far away on the wall, and you go back and forth. You're not coming back here, so I'm not going to cross, but I'm looking at this index finger and a spot far. This way I contract, expand, sit and do that. And then make it really dark. And this is the favorite, of course. And they found if you're sitting in front of computer, every 15 minutes, you need to make it dark. Close your eyes and make it really dark, like for a minute. And you can do your eye exercise while you're sitting there, like that too. You don't have to see when you're doing eye exercise. So thyroid cancer, look at this. For women, we really took off here by 2010, and we more than doubled. The men has been kind of going up too, and you can follow where computers and cell phones also has increased, and I mean, we're all hooked on it now. Thyroid is your body regulator. So it's like your house, it's your clock. When it's not in balance, it can affect every metabolic function. So, you know, most of the time in the old days, it appeared when we were in menopause, because we lowered then our hormones. Well, because your ovaries have a thyroid receptor, and your thyroid has ovarian receptors. So when we lose the estradiol and testosterone from ovaries, it can affect the thyroid. World Health Organization found that about 72% of the world's population are iodine deficient. Our soil is iodine deficient. We're on a fast food diet, loads of pasta and bread and pizza. That is just draining our iodine. And iodine is antibacterial. It's antiviral. It's anti-cancer. And we need it for healthy breast tissue and nerve function. And it actually protects us from radiation. When people come with iodine problems, usually they know the temperature is lower, usually less than 97.4. And how do we get iodine back? Well, we love seaweeds. We eat a lot of dulse, and we eat foods, vegetables that are rich in iodine. And of course, you have your spinach, your lettuce, your celery, and we take all the sprouts, of course. The thing is, we also sometimes take selenium to support our thyroid. We take zinc to support our thyroid. And sometimes we need iodine. And one of the best way to take iodine, and it's got to be a non-radioactive iodine, is we mix it with castor oil, because castor oil is such a good vehicle. Anybody who learned about Edgar Cayce, he used castor oil packs for the liver, which is wonderful. Anybody who has a hard time to sleep, you buy castor oil, get an old-fashioned hot water bottle, no heating pad. We don't need any more electric on our body, or heating blankets, or, you know. So you get an old-fashioned hot water bottle, you put castor oil on your liver, which you find by the last rib here on the right side, and you put a towel over that, and then you put the hot water bottle on top of that. Well, when I do, which you can use for a lot of other things, for other inflammations too. Then, for the thyroid, we take a few drops of castor oil and 1 drop of iodine, and we massage it on the neck for a few months to see if we can fix our numbers. The numbers, although we do take that at the Institute, we take free T4, free T3, and TSH, it's not always to count, because each person is different. Each person, we're all different when it comes to that, the stress we had before the test, what we ate before the test, you know. So a lot of people, if you have fatigue, if you're losing hair, if you're really constipated, if you're depressed, maybe it's your thyroid, you know. It is so common. So we need to get iodine back in our soil. My mom had iodine. She had goiter. She had the thyroid problem, and all her sister and brothers, and there was not enough iodine in the soil. And there are a lot of parts in America that has the same problem. So we don't use sea salt, and that was usually the first way that we got iodine from. It's so much better to get it from your vegetables that have grown organic, and so much better to get it from seaweeds. And, you know, hyper, I mainly talked about hypo here, but hyper is another form where we're making too much hormones. And the good thing about a vegan diet is it can lower the hormones for you. So for a hypo, it can balance it. For a hyper, it can also balance. So either way, it's great. Here is Suzanne, and she had Hashimotos. And she was unable to work, sleep, or function at any normal level. After making significant lifestyle changes, she experienced renewed health, and she's never looked back. We see her, or she comes back a lot of times to visit with us. Other form of cancer, lymphoma. It's a pervasive cancer that attacks and attaches to the lymphatic system. This part of the endocrine system is utilized for central filtration. Well, that's your filter system. And the local immune system cell generators spread throughout your body. When this disease creates semi or full paralysis, one's body is unable to prevent metastasis or even the onslaught of other cancers and disease. Well, here is Bernadette, and anybody from Ireland knows Bernadette. Over 10 years ago, Bernadette Bowen met us in Dublin, Ireland. Days after she was told her cancer returned, we strongly suggested that she must be her own doctor and not hope that the same treatments that resulted in failure would somehow magically do the opposite. Bernadette's courage and wisdom gave her the strength to fully adopt the Hippocrates health-building lifestyle, and she permanently conquered her cancer. She has successfully written 4 best-selling books and now teaches in her home country of Ireland to all of those who want to come into the new world of self-care. Yeah. So everybody that comes from Ireland knows this person. Bernadette has helped so many people, and she's doing courses over there, and she's helped herself. She is so passionate about life and how she can help other people in any which way. And her books have been bestsellers, and she's been in media, and media has been very, very positive. So let's go for heart disease and women, because, you know, it was guys that had heart disease. We didn't have it. Well, we caught up with you guys, and it's #1 killer in men and women worldwide now. So, and you know, as we talked about cholesterol here, of course, it's only one little detail. And at the Institute, we have, at our blood testing, we test for C-reactive protein, CRP. And, you know, you can see what is going on with that. And, of course, any inflammation in your body will make those numbers high. So if you have a blood test like that, don't freak out right away. Do something about it. Take the test maybe in 3 months again, and maybe it's going to be absolutely perfect. A lot of our guests have come with high CRP and homocysteine numbers, and comes back 3 months later, and they're perfect. So don't take no for an answer. Just do something about it, you know. Most of the time, if you did, you would be on some heavy-duty cardiovascular medication. So it used to be a guy thing. And, you know, a lot of cardiovascular problems comes from infection, gum disease, HPV, H. pylori, you name it, of course, diabetes and obesity. But when they've done tests on people that have died from cardiovascular disease, this is what they found. Loads and loads of bacteria, infections. That was a big part of this, the inflammation, that it even happened. So here we think that, you know, yes, it must be diet, it's high protein, high sugar, high cholesterol. And what it really was, it was my immune system. So the stronger immune system you have, the more you can fight. Because your white blood cells, they have an amazing intelligence. They know exactly what to attack. But our diet plays a big role of getting that to not happen and to prevent it. And you know, we use vitamin C IVs at the Institute, and problem if I'm eating a lot of sugar, because glucose and vitamin C use the same cell door. They use the same cell door, so they fight for access. And we see, for example, when we do vitamin C, by the way, it should not be from ascorbic acid. If you do take IVs, it should be from plant source. And it's just, if you are hypoglycemic and you do a vitamin C injection, you need to take some form of sugar, like an apple juice or a cup of that. We have to do that at the Institute because vitamin C just takes your sugar down for a moment. And that's okay for anybody, even if you have cancer, it's okay. But that has been really powerful for us too. So let's go to MS. And, you know, MS, we thought that it was the colder nations only that had MS, but you can find it in places where there are sun too. And so vitamin D is very important for MS, but it's not the main thing. And, you know, there are many theories about MS, and we believe it's a microbial contamination that enters the brain. And, you know, it's very much coming up now, the increase of MS. And you can probably count on that our water has been contaminated, food has been contaminated. It's very environmental, why we're seeing more and more of this. And ALS, Parkinson, MS are now reaching women at alarming levels. These neuron and muscular degenerating disorders that often results in paralysis are directly traced to the intake of noxious chemicals, heavy metals, and brain injuries. And here is Joseph, and you know, he's been at the Institute for many, many weeks. He's among the many Hippocrates guests who have been able to manage their symptoms through lifestyle modification and holistic therapies. He has not only become stronger and better able to walk around, he has reversed symptoms of Lyme disease. We just had another wonderful guest, very young, early 30s, and she could not feel the bottom of her feet. When she walked, she could not feel the bottom of her. Even in 3 weeks, she felt she had full feeling at the bottom of her feet, and which is big because MS, you know, if it's a brain trauma or a brain problem, then you would think it could never reverse. And just to see that in 3 weeks, she was on cloud 9 when she left. So that's where I want to, as far as I want to go with this lecture. So I want to open up for answering questions because I know you have great questions. So let's come up. Thank you. All right, let's start.
Hi, thank you very, very much for your lecture. Very informative.
Thank you.
I want your view, especially yours personally, on bioidentical hormones. Plus, I have a big issues in young men. When you do the blood, you see free testosterone is really low in somebody who is in 20s.
Right.
And for the long weekends, they all go for the Viagra because all the thing is there. And they're not ready just to go for this lifestyle. Plus, number 2, perimenopause. The ladies who do not have hot flashes, let's see, the mood swings, digestion, everything is there. What is your take on bioidentical, especially the progesterone? And there's a lot of literature, especially Dr. Roy Lee, who just said that bioidentical is pretty good in a very small dose, and it's going to help you with a lot of things, especially disease. And Cleveland Clinic have this data. So I need your personal opinion from your perspective, from your experience. Thank you.
Okay. So let's start with the men, with the kids. You know, it's definitely a problem. And we have had doctors that work with bioidentical hormones. if we were to use it, and it definitely can be good for a short time. I would not use them for more than max 6 months. So maybe 3 to 6 months. After 3 months, we need to be tested again. But it's not a long-term help, because diet and exercise is the long-term health. And a woman that is in perimenopause, taking care of herself, most women don't need hormones at that time. We can take natural hormones. We can take chasteberry. There's chasteberry out there. There is all the algae help, the blue-green algae, the green algae. And really, sleeping well is the best hormone replacement out there. So going to bed earlier, getting a good night's sleep, that is the best hormone help you can get. So a lot of young men now are low in testosterone because our diet has been so full of estrogen. You know, our dairy products, our meats, it's just been so full of estrogen that it's screwed up it imbalanced our men's hormones too. So yes, for a short time, if needed, I would first try exercise and diet and see if we can up the testosterone. Because you make testosterone when you exercise. Don't you feel that?
Even with the time, even the age goes by, you're still going to go for a short time? You're not going to go for for lifelong or a couple of years? No?
No, I go for lifelong with lifestyle. Lifelong is always lifestyle. And, you know, look, as a woman, you go through your puberty, you start your menses, you have children, you go into menopause. It is all natural stages. It's not something that is like a disease, you know, and because allopathic medicine could benefit from making it a problem, making it diseases, we kind of been brainwashed that we should feel bad. We should feel bad in pregnancy. We should feel bad in menopause. It's the opposite. It's really, first of all, pregnancy is the best time of my life. It's the most wonderful time. Menopause is amazing time where you just grow as a woman, where your ability to move over and be a different help to your children, different help to the community, it's just amazing. It's like it gives you that freedom of time that everybody is wanting, and you go through the childbearing age, and they're amazing, and so step by step. So we don't always need help from medication. And even bioidentical should not be a long term. You know, that's definite. So, but if you are on it and you think that that's the crutch and I don't want to change lifestyle, you know, it's a fool's game.
Thank you.
Yes, thanks.
Could you list the fruits that we should stay away from? And also magnesium, what form and dosage should we take for fibrillation and headaches? And if you could also talk about polycystic ovaries.
Yeah, and when it comes to magnesium, it's got to come from food source. And of course, the juices, our juices, do you all know how to make a green drink? Because we tend to think that it's sugar, 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 and then maybe a celery stick. Well, our green drink is half sprouts. So we get sunflower sprouts loaded with magnesium, pea sprouts. We get celery, cucumber, parsley, watercress, any leafy green that you can find. Okay. And you might live in other parts of the world where you don't have all the sprouts. Get what you can find. Get the leafy greens. Get cabbage, celery, cucumber. Just start making it really green. That is magnesium rich. Wheatgrass is, of course, the strongest. Wheatgrass is amazing. So if you start growing wheatgrass and you make juice out of that, you drink 2 ounces twice a day. The green drinks we make 16 ounces or half a liter twice a day. Now you have magnesium. You can take extra magnesium for a while. You probably don't need that forever. And for headaches, yes, magnesium is wonderful to help that, but it's really lifestyle, staying out of dairy and meat, staying out of some medication is also going to make you so toxic you get headaches. And then we need a headache pill. So, you know, bottom line is clean up your body. The first lecture we do at the Institute is about colon cleanse, and that's when the enema bag comes out and everybody shrugs it. And, you know, enema bag, of course, is a tool of taking a cleanse, like your grandparents knew. I know my grandma had an enema bag on the back of the door in the bathroom. And people understood that if they had a cold or the flu or they had a headache, you had to take an enema. Well, enema is just water. The next thing is called implant, and that's when we use wheatgrass or other chlorophyll-rich plant foods like parsley, kale, even algae, blue-green algae, chlorella. You can use that as an implant, and that's just like a 4-ounce enema after the enema, but it's called an implant, and that brings back electrolytes that you brought out. So when I have a headache, if I have a headache, I will have to do an enema, absolute, with an implant, because boy, that is directly related to my indigestion if I have a headache.
Okay, so were you saying first do it with water, then do it with chlorella or algae or something like that?
Yeah, if you don't have wheatgrass.
Okay.
So an enema is just water, yes. And then you follow that with a wheatgrass implant.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. So that's what people do. Once a day for 3 weeks, people do at the Institute the cleansing. The ones that cannot do an enema, of course, if you had a surgery, if you had a colon surgery, if you have polyps, diverticulosis, we don't do that. But we can do the wheatgrass or the chlorophyll implant, that we can do. So we're a little more careful with that.
So if you could talk a little about polycystic ovaries and the fruits we should avoid.
And it comes again and again because it's very hormonally derived. So we stay out of the meats, we stay out of the dairy, we stay out of the sugars. Those are the first thing that we need to stay out of. And if I'm on estrogen replacement therapy, I need to find a better alternative to that. And because that in itself has side effects, you know. But a lot of women have polycystic ovaries from high protein, but also from the PCBs and environmental toxins. So how do we clean? Well, we love the far infrared sauna. We're in that every day. And you would think, what does sauna have to do with this? Well, laser, let me tell you about laser. Laser is one of the treatments that we do at the Institute, and it actually helps to reverse your cells to their original way, and that is one of the treatments we do. We do Theragem, we do Viofor. These are machines that people have put their passion into for so many years, and it's actually a gift for us to be able to buy these machines and have them as a part of the healing at the Institute. So cold laser is something you can buy, or you can find people that does these treatments, and I would highly suggest that for you. Yeah. Stop. Okay, I'll do a few more questions.
Thank you, Anna Marie.
Thank you,
Brian and Stephen, for this incredible, incredible event. It's been really, really educational and very powerful.
Well, we have been working hard with Loretta and her husband, and you know, Lithuania is where Ann Wigmore came from, and we're bringing Ann Wigmore back to Lithuania. And it is so amazing what's going on there. It's such a small country. There's only 2 million people. But boy, are they... 3 now, okay. They're so excited. And we got good news this week, but because we're opening a part of the university that actually will teach holistic medicine as a part of being a doctor. So that's going to be amazing. And the doctor, did Brian tell you this? The doctor that supports us, he has been giving the role to direct health in Lithuania. So it's going to be amazing.
In government.
In government.
Which is amazing. I mean,
Yes.
I don't think there's a country in the world that has a doctor, a physician who's interested in raw and living foods and health.
Yes.
as Lithuania is. So we're really trying to help the country.
Yes.
And if you could help support this is all nonprofit. We've been retired and working full time to
I
do
know.
this.
I know.
So thank you very, very much.
Thank you, Loretta. Thank you.
you.
Okay, any more questions?
Thank you very much. Does
Thank
this
you.
lifestyle change help if you have periodontal disease and gum disease? And
Good you took that up, because gum disease is big time important for your heart health, for everything. You know, we have, in our mouth, we have a lot of bugs. I used to look at blood under microscope, but also to look on gum tissue under microscope. And it shocks you how much is going on in your gums. But there's a special critter there that's called spirochetes. And their job is to work on a tooth that's not healthy and more or less discarded. And that's when we get root canals. And root canals is not a good thing. I pulled the last two I had from all time. And it was just oozing of bacteria for about 2 weeks after that, and I could really feel my immune system take off, because that infection under a root canal, because it's a dead tooth, will never go away. And it's constantly creating problems in your immune system. And actually, every tooth in your mouth is connected to a part of your body. So that is a great thing. Yes, periodontal disease. If I just have gum disease and my teeth are good, this is the perfect way. But I need to floss my teeth, brush them, and there is a water pick. You can buy at any pharmacy here, and you can actually clean with a water pick. It's like a spray cleaning machine. The thing is, what they found is that spirochetes, about, I think, 280% of the heart attacks that happens and strokes are involved, spirochetes are involved, because if you look at a spirochete, it looks like a screw, what do you call it, wine opener. Yeah, corkscrew. And it can go through everything. It can go through your heart. It can also cause, they found that 60% of people that have pancreatic cancer came from our gums, which is spirochetes. Imagine that. So, yes, floss and brush, but those spirochetes live 3 millimeters down in your gum, and flossing and brushing only goes down 1 millimeter. So you need to get a water pick and really get into that.
Okay, and you thank you. And you said you don't do sea salt, but I think your recipe book had a lot of sea salt added to your recipes. So why don't you use sea salt?
Well, because it's also for transition, you know. And we have, we use things like namashoyu, we use some brags. Especially in transition, we have to have something that looks and feels like the old days of sodium. But we really get most of our sodium from our green drinks, our salads, and seaweeds, you know. Okay, we got to stop very soon. Okay, but let's get, did you talk yet?
I talked about one thing, just want to say one thing more. It's great educating the kids and getting them. It's great educating the kids and getting them, but you also have to educate the parents. So we have a program, Eat to Thrive, 10 Weeks to Lifelong Healthy Habits and Healthy Living, based on the 12 DVDs at Hippocrates. And it's so important that to see those DVDs, you can get them in the store. We have 3 scholarships for parents of these kids that are in public housing. One is Spanish speaking, and we have also gotten an interpreter to help her educate her and tutor her. And one is Haitian, so in Haitian Creole, so they'll be teaching people in the projects in those languages. And the third is from Bangladesh, so she will be teaching classes in Bengali. We need to raise money for their salaries. We're going to train them on scholarships for 30 weeks, but we need them when they get salaries so that they can go ahead and teach.
Yeah. Thank you, Betsy. Thank you. And thank you so much for everything. And thank you, Steve, for doing